Another quick update on the cedar strip wah. Today I didn't have a lot of time to work on it, but I did spend a little bit of time on the idler. And I forgot to drill the holes in the bridge for the idler mount. In fact, I intentionally built the bridge in the order that I did so that I can make sure I got those screw holes lined up perfectly. Obviously, with it in now, it's pretty close to impossible to get them lined up. So what has ended up happening is it's not anywhere close to even right now. It needs to come back a little bit more. But I've just been drilling in there and kind of opening up that hole. It's open to the point now where it's just way too large. So what I'm going to end up doing is I think I'm going to make just a little plate of some aluminum flat bar on either side. I'll get the bolt mounted nice and evenly, and I will epoxy those in with some colloidal silica, just like I epoxied in the boom. Quick update on the cedar wah progress. I'm working now on adjusting the steering and getting it lined up a little bit closer. And to do that, rather than making holes in the bridge and having to do awkward things to reach them, I have made holes in the bottom. The Milan does it this way, and I think the new Bulk also does it this way. But it gives me access to the center rod that can be adjusted to adjust the track width here. And then I've got another hole that gets me to the bolts for the center rods. And those will just be covered over with a piece of vinyl. I have plenty of spare bits running around. And then the other thing that I did is I made a metal plate for fixing the idler mount hole that I made a hot mess of when I tried to drill into the carbon fiber from a bad angle. I'm just going to epoxy this in the area where the original hole was, or at least where it was supposed to be, had I not forgotten to drill it before installing the bridge. Alright, I've got fill coat now on everything, and I finally remembered to do the hatch cover as well. And then I have added a layer here of unidirectional, and then another layer of twill over top, because you, I guess, want to have a layer of twill to hold the unidirectional together. And that will hopefully stiffen up that area where the handles will attach. And then I have made these two aluminum plates for the idler to mount. And I've kind of just sighted that screw to make sure it looks more or less straight. And then I've epoxied that in with some colloidal silica. And hopefully that'll be enough to hold the idler, because I screwed up those holes. Otherwise I would have just gone directly into the carbon fiber. So now I am headed to Home Depot because I need a spade bit that is 13/16 inch, basically 20 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is, rather than making an electrical box, I have got these switches. I got a pack of, I think 8 of them in different colors. And I am going to mount them up here. I've got lights here, left turn, right turn, brake light, and I think that's just the power main. And I'm going to just put some holes, and I'm going to put those switches in there. And then I'll have easy access to my power main switch, switch for, well, now let's look at the list. What are my switches for? The power main and the headlights and the Running lights, yes. I have a switch on the handlebar that does the horn and also does the left and right turn signals. Then there's a headlight switch for low beam and high beam on it, and I'm going to use that switch. Well, I may not use it at all. I could use it for the flashers or something like that, or use it for the headlight, but anyway, having those up there on that panel will give me easy access to the switches, and then I don't have to make a switch box. I've got a new problem. The new problem is that the pockets that I made for the steering rods, despite being something like 5-6 layers of carbon fiber, I think, one of which is unidirectional, are still too flexible. And when I hooked up the steering handle, there was significant flex when I tried to move the handle, and it just wasn't moving the steering at all, or at least not well. So a couple different things were suggested. One was to epoxy on a piece of aluminum bar across there to stiffen that. The other one that was suggested was to take something and epoxy it. Got some sanding in there to do. To epoxy it here to the wall so that one end of the bolt goes into that, and it will keep the bolt from moving back and forth. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a block of wood, I'm going to epoxy it to the wall, and then I'm going to glue a washer to it. Well, I epoxy a washer into it, and that way I will be able to put one end of the bolt into that, and with the washer that'll keep it from opening up the hole over time, and I think that will take care of the problem. Then that bolt is supported on both sides. I don't know how Katanga does it in the wah. I guess essentially I had that sort of a setup before. I had just a frame with 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch thick by, I think it was maybe 1.5 inch wide wood that I had made up a frame with, and that worked great. So this should take care of the problem, and between those two pieces of wood it adds 14 grams. So I think I can spare 14 grams plus a few grams of epoxy to fix the problem. All right, so back again on the cedar strip wah, working on the steering pockets. I had to cut out the block that I had epoxied in because the pocket is still pulling away from the wall, and that's just not a recipe for success. So the next solution is I need to get some threads into the hole in here, and I picked up these T-nuts, and I am going to epoxy those in, and that'll give the bolt support on one end, and that should prevent it from pulling away from the pocket. So fingers crossed this works, otherwise I probably need to do a redesign. Quick update, I did a tremendous amount of sanding, and I got things smooth enough on the nose that I could put the first clear coat on. So that is the nose with one coat. There's 4 more coats to go. Got a coat on the outside now of the wheel wells, and I also have an update on the steering handles. They are much more solid now. What little flex there is actually the wall of the velomobile moving, and when it's under actual pedal power, that will be just fine. And that's pretty much it for an update.